All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast with another Series W. I know it didn't end the way we want to, but at the end of the day, it's still Series W against the big bad LA Dodgers. But before we get started, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, give us your comments, let us know how you're feeling. Hey, Victor, how you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good. I don't know if I should feel better because this loss kind of killed our high, our momentum. But even so, we just ran into a hard pitcher and ace caliber, Cy Young worthy, I think, in Tyler Glass now pitching 8 strong innings, kind of beating us up. So that kind of killed my high today. I was hoping that the Mets can at least put a competitive game together. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We still took 2 out of 3. But at the same time, you know, um, it just would have been nice going into the this series on a 6 or a 7 game winning streak. But we still took 2 out of 3. So what can I say?
Yeah, you can't say much. We're going. It was our fifth starter against their ace, and I think Jolly Olive is the one that tweeted this out. But he said they could have scored 40 runs today, and I still wouldn't have cared. And I'm with Jolly Olive. I don't care. Series W, Series W. That's all I care about. So we're going in with some momentum. Yeah, we're not going in on a winning streak, but we're still going in with some Series Ws. That's all that I care about. But I mean, we were dampened by other things, but we'll get into it. But let's get into the first question. Let's get right into it. I'm too excited, and I'll just keep going. So game one, we had um, um, a nail biter. Actually, the first 2 games were a nail biter, but we had our boy Reed Garrett get his first W. So he's come out of nowhere. We were everybody was talking about it. Stearns finds guys that are going to be gems or guys that are going to come out of nowhere. And Reed Garrett is the guy so far this year.
Yeah, that's my boy. We were high on Reed Garrett last week when he was able to get us the win, going 2 strong against the Pirates. And I thought he would be a factor this time around, and this time he was. It's just disappointing that he was a factor based off of everything that transpired in that game. But it was just a wild game. We're facing some tough bats, and he was he was even getting into some trouble. I honestly didn't realize that he got the win in that game, but he ran into some trouble there with Joey Wendell, not playing his best third base, uh, which caused him to only pitch 1 inning when I think Mendoza would have liked to pitch him a little more, but he got his pitch count up, left the bases loaded, which is awesome, but got into some high stress pitches that he probably shouldn't have needed. But hey, at the end of the day, his ERA is still a 0. He's still got it, and he's got 3 wins on the season. I think that's the most out of Mets pitchers so far, which is crazy coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's one of those things where what I tell you, got the bats lit up, and what I tell you about Lindor, go over to the warm weather. He's feeling good. He's back to the warm weather, and he's starting to wake up. He's starting. Ron Darling was the guy that said once he starts hitting the other way from the left side, that's when he's going to start ramping things up. And like I said, nothing to worry about with Lindor. He's just a slow starter. It is what it is. It was glaring the first week because we were losing, but after that, nothing to worry about because he's the guy that is going to carry us when we need him most. And Marte's playing like old Marte, and Harrison Bader used up all his hits on Friday.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was just the perfect way to kind of end his hitting streak going over yesterday. Harrison Bader's, carried the team for as long as he could, but we knew that his hitting streak would come to an end, and it did yesterday. or on Saturday, and that's okay because he's not. We're not going to rely on him. But it was really encouraging to see Lindor break out and start to hit the baseball well. He's starting to hit the baseball around from the left side of the plate, which is really cool to see because he's getting back into the groove of things, and he talked about in some press conferences that he never ever felt like his players, his teammates, and his coaches were counting him out. They were always so supportive and always had his back in every situation. And he pulled through. So keeping his head up and keeping a positive attitude benefited him in this last part, or this in this series. And finally, Marte, he's the guy that I had breaking out this season. Back to old Marte, like you said. It just scared me in Sunday's game when he dove for that ball and landed on his knee. I got scared there because I was like, man, I hope that he doesn't hurt himself too. Because he's an old guy. He can't be making those plays anymore, and the game's already kind of out of hand. So might as well just let that pass and not dive and risk your health. But it's good to see him playing with some passion too, and playing with some heart out there, playing some team ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we'll get to that third game. That dive. If he would have made that catch, that would have held down the Dodgers scoring that inning. But he's back to being Marte. Lindor, after hitting that home run, you saw that big hug that Marte gave him, and you could see a weight come off his back. You know what I mean? That kind of showed it, all that emotion that came out. And so obviously Reed Garrett gets the win, and Diaz gets the save on Friday. But I mean, not Friday, on Saturday, but he comes in on Saturday. Sorry, but Reed Garrett gets the win only because McNeill can't go longer. That's still one of our concerns. But yeah, and Wendell cost McNeill the win because of those two unearned runs that came in on Reed Garrett, and that's the reason why Reed Garrett gets the win. So moving on to the second game, Lindor stays hot, you know, and he stays hot. He comes in. Um, Diaz comes in the eighth inning to kind of settle things because Jorge Lopez couldn't get through a couple batters. So Diaz comes in, and Reed Garrett gets his first save. Kind of misspoke earlier. Gets his first save of his career. So he's doing it all. He's getting the W's and he's getting the saves. Reed Garrett's our guy. And I can't believe it. He's striking out everybody and getting the job done.
Yeah, hearing where he's coming from too. He was put into some bad situations to kind of not be this high-touted um, reliever in the pen because he got beat up a couple of times. He wasn't really seen as a guy that can get you outs, and he was just thrown out there to and kind of high in stressful situations. Now we see Mendoza putting him in good spots where he can actually throw the ball well without stress. Because we saw when he went on the game on Saturday, he still ran into some issues, but he was able to get those outs, and it still wasn't. It was still or sorry, on Friday, it was still he still got those outs, but on Saturday, he does it all. He gets us to save too. Having to get Diaz in there. That's the one positive thing that I did see from Mendoza this past series was using Diaz in the eighth. I don't know if that's something that we saw too often from Buck last year. He did a couple of times where you were facing the top of the order in the eighth inning, and he would throw him out there. But oftentimes he would kind of go to his regular routine and have like Ottavino pitch the eighth inning, and he didn't have his stuff last year, so it was hard to get him out. But having Diaz in there in that eighth inning was so crucial because we saw how much that top of the order killed us this series, and those were the outs that mattered. And why not throw the guy in that's already has a 0 ERA on the season and is has is able to get that safe situation and get that out. So I love the managing from Mendoza on Saturday, and we just got the job done in a barn burner.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this was where I'll give a little bit of grace to Buck. Last year, he didn't have much of a bullpen to work with other than Robertson. Ottavino didn't have his stuff, but 2 years ago, he did use Diaz that way. He brought him in high leverage, in the most high leverage situation to get the top bats out. So I will give some grace to Buck on that one, even though I got a lot to say about Buck. You already know, but guess who gets the W? Um, our boy Tonkin gets W. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, he had a bounce back series. Maybe he was one of those like Lindor needed to get into some warm weather to start pitching well, but he was in every single game this series, and he was able to do what the Mets wanted him to do, which was provide length and provide outs when we needed it. And even today, or even in Sunday's game, he was asked to go out there and get a couple of get a pitching inning because our bullpen was already exhausted, right? And so if this is a Tonkin that we're going to see, it's not someone that I want to see often, but it's great for him to get his morale up, get the win, but don't put him out there to be a setup man or anything like this. This is the perfect situation that I want to see him in. It's just like a long reliever kind of role, just to carry on our starters. And hopefully it won't happen too often because, like we said, we don't want our starters to only pitch 5 6 innings or 5 innings. We want them to be able to get out there, pitch 6 7 innings, and not have to rely on a Tonkin. But good for him, getting that ERA down from a 7, uh, from I think it was like a 14 before, got it down to like a 7. So it's probably good for his mental as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And before yesterday, not today, before yesterday, the only team he's pitched against this year was Detroit. Even when he went up to Minnesota, he pitched against Detroit. And, I don't know if Detroit got in his head or something, but you're probably right. Got a new team and he looks a little different. And got the win yesterday and was in mop up duty today. But two bad things that came out of Saturday's game. The injury to Alvarez. We got the update. He's going to have surgery and he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, depending on recovery. So we'll probably not see Alvarez for about 3 months. Uh,
It's tough, man. It's the same injury that Brett Beatty had. He was talking to the press in the locker room. So same ligament that he tore in his thumb a couple of years ago, and it's probably the same recovery process as well. And Beatty was able to get back, and I think that's good that he has Beatty there to kind of encourage him to see where he's at now. Obviously he's going to have to use that thumb a lot more than Beatty did, but. Maybe this is a situation where you just get him in the DH role for the first few weeks that he's back, as he's warming up, and then get him back into a catching role. But it's going to hurt to have him, not have him for a little bit. But that being said, we might not miss him too much with JD Martinez coming up, because that would kind of be an equal bat in my eyes, to kind of fill in that role. Obviously, DJ Stewart will kind of drop from that lineup as well. But Omar Narvaez has been able to play well enough to be able to provide some a bat in that backstop role. But also, Tomas Nido was able to get us our first out, thrown out base runner, or thrown out steal in Sunday's game. So maybe this is what the Mets needed, just a change in kind of pitch or catcher dynamic, but also what Alvarez needed to get some rest, because we talked about it last series or last podcast that he was getting beat up, man. He was getting beat up all over the place, and maybe he just needs these 6 to 8 weeks to kind of recover all over his body, and he'll come back stronger. I'm not doubting that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you hate to see it. You don't want to lose a bat like Alvarez. We did say about him getting beat up, but a rest a day or two, not 3 months or 2 months. Because Beatty did have that injury a couple years ago, but it was so late in the season that basically ended his season. But hopefully we'll see him late July, August kind of time frame. And hopefully, he starts not being so close to the batters so he doesn't get hit, and maybe he doesn't steal so many bases, so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's not hurting that hand on the slide.
On a wild throw too. It's just disappointing how that happened. Just unfortunate. Obviously, he's gotten beat up all over the place, but that particular one was unfortunate. And he'll come back, like you said, July, August, right when we need him. Because if all things go well, July, August is crunch time, and where we're going to start seeing things heat up. And so, if he comes back in that time and is able to provide a crucial role, then that'll be perfect timing for him. And hopefully, the Mets are in a position where they're not relying on him to come back, because Narvaez should be able to keep us through. But the other injury that you'll mention today, I think, is even more important, and hopefully not as long. But in Brooks Raley, because that was he'll be out for a little bit. Not sure how long yet. They haven't announced how long he'll be out, but just some soreness. And I think that hurts more, honestly, than Alvarez, just because he's one of the only lefty, or maybe the only lefty in our bullpen right now. So we're not going to be able to leverage that arm in those situations either, and that might hurt us coming down the stretch. So hopefully he's not out too long. Just got a cortisone shot and some recovery time, and should be back on the bump soon, hopefully. But I think that one hurts more than Alvarez.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned it. That was the other injury that we're going to talk about, and he's going on a 15-day IL, and he had this injury last year and only missed 15 days. So it's something that kind of like the JD Martinez thing, with his back. Same thing that JD Martinez had a little back soreness last year, and when he came back, was ready to go. So I expect Rayleigh to be back in 15 days. Get all that situated, get that inflammation down, and come back better than ever. So I'm not too worried about it. As far as having him for the season, but yeah, you are correct. We're gonna miss him for the next 2 weeks because he's top guy out of that bullpen, and so he's definitely going to be missed. And then we're going to move on to the third game, and that was complete blowout. We kind of started talking about it in the beginning of the show. They kind of beat up Hauser, and there's nothing else to put it, and they kind of probably let Hauser out there a little bit longer than they wanted to, just because the bullpen was spent on Saturday. Nothing you could do about it. Because Buto, only lasted 4 1/3 innings on Saturday, so kind of used up the whole bullpen. And since we were going to get blown out, they left in Hauser longer than they probably would have, and let him eat that big inning. But what can you do? The bats were quiet, and because we were facing Glass now, and and it's one of those things that when you're going up against an ace, it's usually a low scoring game. But when you don't have an ace going up against an ace, it makes it difficult.
Yeah, and with Glass now, I mean with Hauser, it seemed like he should have been able to get through that fifth inning, because he was only at 67 pitches or something like that going into that inning, and facing the nine hitter, then Mookie, and then Otani, and Otani hit that double play ball that just bounced off his ankle, that would have gotten them out of that inning, but then everything just spiraled after that, and he wasn't able to get those outs. And we've seen this time after time with Adrian Hauser, where he goes through the lineup for a third time, and just runs into trouble. And it brings up the question: how long is he going to stay a starter? Because we have guys that are biting at the bit to get up here and play for that starting role. And if he's only able to get through the lineup a couple times, then that's not really going to benefit the Mets long term, especially being as being a starter, because we know our bullpen uh, can't handle that. Period. After wasting our bullpen first couple of games, we need a starter that can get us at least through 6 or 7 innings. I'll say six because that's a quality start right there. 6 innings is a standard for any pitcher, and that usually means you have to get through the lineup 3 times. And so far, we haven't really seen that from Hauser. But I really thought he was going to be able to do that this time, getting his pitch down. He had a couple of walks, but his pitch count didn't go that high. But when you face a guy like Glass now, it also kind of hurts you because you get into that pitching duel mentality, thinking that you have to keep your team in the game. And when your bats can't produce, what can you do? And so that causes more stress on the pitcher. And at the end of the day, it was a throwaway game for the Mets. With Adrian Hauser out there and Tyler Glasnow being up, I don't think anyone expected the Mets to win that game. We didn't expect it to lose it in that fashion either. But at the end of the day, we were hoping to not see Glasnow this series, and he just looks like the Cy Young caliber pitcher that he was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's the key in this whole thing. That Glass now was going up against Hauser, and Hauser was going up against that Dodgers lineup. As we saw on Saturday, because Budo didn't fare much better. He just was taken out as soon as Mendoza got the chance to take him out. But Hauser didn't get that chance because he didn't have the bullpen for it. It'd be interesting to see, like you said, how this pans out. Because Hauser did look better today. Budo didn't have his stuff yesterday. He kind of didn't have his best stuff yesterday. So, it was kind of wild a little bit, and didn't have the control that he's had the first two starts. So, we'll see how it pans out. McGill's coming back soon. We're gonna see Peterson and Senga come back at the end of May. So, I know everybody's clamoring for Christian Scott, but with those three guys coming back from the IL, I don't think we're going to see Christian Scott anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you brought that comparison up with Budo and Hauser because at the end of the day, you know, Udo didn't look great. He had wild stuff. He was walking everybody on their mother, loaded the bases 3 times, and got himself into trouble. But he was also able to get himself out. He didn't. I think he gave 1 earned run up and 2 earned runs, and but that was after the Mets were able to get on base. And get some runs in. You saw Hauser. Not that Budo was much different, but you saw Hauser give up that early home run, which kind of set the tone for the rest of the Dodgers lineup to take a breath and to be able to be relaxed in the batter's box. And Budo was kind of stressed out the whole time, trying to get people uh, off the base pads, and he just couldn't do it. This is not something that we see usually from Budo. I think he has a little better control, and so I have more confidence in him bouncing back. But even with Hauser today, and I sound like a Hauser hater, I have all season, but he didn't. A lot of his outs were fly balls, even, and that's not something that you want to see out of your fifth pitcher, because usually a fifth line starter doesn't have his stuff or doesn't have the stuff to be able to keep those balls in the yard. Having having all those fly balls kind of hurts you. But mentioning Christian Scott, if we want to see him this year, I feel like this is the perfect timing because in a few weeks, we're gonna have Tyler McGill back, and a couple of and then a few more weeks after that, we'll have Senga and David Peterson up, and so those guys will fill up the rest of our rotation questions, battling for a spot between each other. Well, Stengel will have that spot. But Peterson and McGill will again battle for that spot. Hauser will probably be pushed to the bullpen. And Budo hopefully stays up and bounces back from this series, but that'll leave Christian Scott not being able to be back in that rotation. And we've seen this with the Braves a couple of times where they've brought up pitchers just to pitch in low stress situations. And I think when you have games like today or games like games that don't really affect you too much, then that's when you bring up Christian Scott, keep him, have him pitch, an inning or two, and get his feet wet in the major leagues a little bit. I'm not saying to start him, but I feel like we should give him a look to get him up here to start pitching this major league level. Because although hasn't looked great, he's looked really, really good. He's got some stuff to work on, but I think now's better time than any, because if the longer we wait, the less spots there will be for him to come up to.
Yeah, no, and the other thing you got to take out of that though, the reason I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon is they don't want to rush the guy. One, guys are like you said, guys like I said, guys are coming back, so they don't want to rush the guy. Two, those guys that you mentioned for the Braves, they came out of the bullpen, and so I believe, and I do agree with you that if August, September, we're in the hunt, I do believe that we're going to see Christian Scott come out of the bullpen. Because I don't think because if we are in it, that means our pitching held up. So that means we didn't need him. But I do see him coming out of the bullpen, getting, like you said, getting his feet wet. High leverage situations out of the bullpen if he can show that he can keep up with it, kind of like the Braves did with Strider. So so I do see something like that happening. But right now, with three guys kind of coming back, I don't see Christian Scott getting that opportunity anytime soon, just because of that. One, he's not on the 40 man. I know it's easy to get him off on the 40 man. You just gotta take somebody out, but because of three guys coming back, I don't see that happening. Unless something like again something bad happens. But I'm rooting for him. But best case scenario, we see him in August or September.
Yeah, and I hope so. I hope so. I mean, we've talked about it all year. We don't want to rush these guys up. We want them to get their development in and to be able to come when they're ready. And obviously, Christian Scott still has some stuff to work on until he's ready. Giving up home runs. Obviously, he's got the strikeouts. He's got the walks down. But you can probably use a little more time in the minor leagues to develop his stuff. But what we have seen from this series, and one last thing I'll mention from this series is just kind of where we stand in terms of the pitching when it would come to playoff time. Just because we knew this going into the season that our pitching wouldn't be able to keep up with the more elite teams in the National League and even in the major leagues. But we were hoping that they would be good enough to keep us in games so that our bats can kind of keep us alive. And we saw that today our bats weren't able to keep us alive. Obviously, you're facing a really high caliber pitcher, and you have your fifth man up. But those are the kind of games you're going to get. You're going to get games with guys that like Tyler Glass now in the playoffs where they're pitching, unbelievably, and we have to be able to actually get them out of the game earlier or run their pitch count up, get some hits, get some runs even if we're going to be a playoff team. And that's always the goal, right? Is to win a World Series. But if this was kind of a little sign that I saw an early concern. This is just the pessimistic Mets fan in me of some things that we might face down the line is just the pitching outclass that we might see that we just don't have. And hopefully we see guys like Luis Severino and Sean Manaea step up into those roles so that we can have those pitching duels. It's a long season, but I'm just voicing the opinion of some Mets fans now, just that we have to figure out a pitching strategy soon.
Well, again, we're flying high. I'm not worried about like we kind of exhausted this point about the fifth against the first. We can't make those kind of go down that rabbit hole when Hauser is going up against Glasnow. Now, if Hauser is going up against Senga, when Senga comes, I mean, when if Glasnow is going up against Senga and we look like we do, then I'll raise some concerns. But let's wait until Senga comes back before raising those concerns. But who's a standout? Who's a standout of this series? Man,
You already know.
Marte, Starling Marte, looking good, looking like Starling Marte. Kind of had a good first two games and kind of stole the show for the Mets. So um, you know, um, that was a standout. Obviously, we could have said Lindor, but just because he broke out. But at the end of the day, Starling Marte kind of got us going and kind of stole the show for this series, and I'm happy to see it.
He's looking like the same Marte that was able to get us. He was a big part of that 101 win team 2 years ago, and we're starting to see that again. And as long as he's performing that way, he's got the power, he's got the speed, he's got the defense, and he's looking elite out there. Let's just hope that he can keep it up. And like like you said, Lindor is starting to break out from the right side of the plate. He's starting to look more comfortable. That weather is doing him kindly. But someone else that I thought looked decent this series was Jeff McNeill. He's starting to look back like Jeff McNeill, getting some small hits here and there, some timely hits, and just booping the ball into the outfield. Even showing some extra base hits as well. That's something that I think is newer of McNeill, where we didn't see so much extra base hits from McNeill, but this series he was, and all season, it seems like that's something that he's kind of focused on, and maybe that's why he wasn't doing so hot at the beginning of the year. But he settled back into his own, back into the McNeill that we've known, and I love to see it. He's starting to show us signs of improvement, and this just extends the lineup, like you said.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought him up because he looked like the batting title McNeil. The reason why he was so hard to kind of shift against and all that stuff is because he could put it anywhere. He's not the home run hitter. He's the gap hitter. He'll get some doubles, but he'll slap it anywhere on the diamond. And that's what you want McNeil to do. You want him to be slapping the ball everywhere, getting on base. Because one, he doesn't walk. You know, he doesn't hit home runs. So what do you got to do when you don't walk and when you don't hit home runs? You got to get on base. You got to get on base any way you can, and that's what he did when he won the batting title. He got on base any way he could, and I'm glad to see that he's starting to look like that McNeil. Hopefully, he can keep it going. But I agree with you. He's another guy that looks like he's breaking out.
Yeah, Gary or sorry, Ron and Keith, or sorry, Ron and Gary were saying that he loves playing on the West Coast, and we could really see it. That he's a SoCal kid, so maybe he's benefiting from being out there and breaking loose out there. And hopefully this continues this series, but also that he carries it back to New York, where we're gonna need him for the majority of the season. It's great to see, like you said. Maybe I'll stick him back in my fantasy lineup. He luckily I won without him, but he put up some points this time around, and might have to put him back in there. But anyway, like you already mentioned, Marte, he was my guy. I picked him, so that's another point for me.
Well, we'll get to that point. But before we get to the who's right part of the podcast, let's talk about any concerns. I got a couple concerns. One, the whole Bader thing. I thought we were gonna see Tyrone Taylor at least today after the offer from Bader. I know Bader had a good game on Friday, but we still want to keep Tyrone Taylor pretty involved and pretty warm and stuff like that, not let him get too cold on the bench. So one of my concerns is that they kind of get too fond of having Bader, because he is what he is. He'll have some good stretches, but he's not going to be the ultimately, I still believe he's still just a four starter, just like Tyrone Taylor. So why not kind of interchange those two guys?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to push back on that a little bit, just because Bader's been a hot bat as well, and we know that they value his defense a little more. He's able to steal bags, and so is Taylor. But he's had the role from the beginning, and just because Tyrone Taylor is kind of playing a similar role right now, or a similar game, or a similar kind of hitting streak, and similar baseball, doesn't mean that they're going to move him to a fourth outfield spot. I think that's still Tyrone Taylor's spot, and he's going to get that opportunity whenever he can. All we got to see is just Tyrone Taylor take the opportunity and run with it, how he has all this season, because I don't think they're going to supplement Tyrone Taylor as much as or Harrison Bader as much as we'd like them to. I think they're always going to have the $12 million man up, so that he can continue to get some at bats. And he's proved himself in this past week that he can actually play some ball. And as long as he's proving himself that he can keep his head above water, and that Tyrone Taylor isn't breaking out like a star, a little bit like what happened with Tommy Pham last year. If it's not to that extent, then I don't think we're going to see Tyrone Taylor much. But it's definitely tough when you see Harrison Bader go 0 for yesterday on Saturday. But he had a hit today, so maybe it was just one of those games where he's just not doing so hot. But this is what my pushback was the whole season, the whole off season. Was that we shouldn't have like I like not having a true DH, because it gives opportunities for guys like this to be able to get the ball, get up to bat and stuff. But at the end of the day, this is an age of baseball that we're going to have to get used to, where a universal DH is a position that people are going to try to fill. It just sucks to see guys like Tyrone Taylor, who's swinging a hot bat, not get that opportunity, because they're not going to stick him in at DH. That's going to be saved for a DJ Stewart type, someone that can get you more power. But at the end of the day, as long as they're still playing the way that they are, that doesn't concern me who gets the playing time, as long as they're staying hot.
Well, and that's the key, right? Staying hot. So let's hope, like you said, it's just one game. We got to hit today. Let's see what happens going forward. But I would have liked to see Taylor get one start at least this series, and that's all I'm saying. I agree with you. The politics are still part of the game, and $12 million will definitely get the starting nod over over the backup guy. So I do agree with you. The other concern that we kind of had was, man, the pitching staff. I know they're doing great, but they're walking everybody. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, it's crazy, man. I think what did they say? 22 walks or something this series. I don't. It was something crazy like that. And to have one of the lowest ERAs in the National League, but to be walking everybody, you're walking on thin ice, man, and you can't keep that going for a long season. This is just like the conversation that we had with our starters not being able to go deep in games, and it actually goes hand in hand, because this is a big reason that they're not going deep in games, because they're walking everybody. But something that we need to see change. I don't know if that's a Hef thing that he sits down with his pitchers and gets their stuff going, but walking everybody, walking the bases loaded, is not going to win you ball games in October.
yeah, and luckily we caught the Dodgers team when we did, where their bottom of the lineup isn't producing. Because if it was as deep as past years, I don't think we would have won this series. So we do need to get that under control. And we won't. Even later on in the year, I don't think we'll beat this Dodgers team. We just caught them at the right time.
Yeah, for sure. They've lost three consecutive series at home now. First time they mentioned on the broadcast, first time they've done that since 2011. And we're not going to see that Dodgers team again. So this is the one time that I'll accept fans and baseball fans say that the Mets got lucky in this series, because maybe that's the case with the pitching that we got to face. But we still face Yamamoto and Glass now in the series, and beat this team. And it's not like this team is going to change much. It's just that the bottom of the order hasn't been hot, and that's all. And that's just what happens in baseball. It's baseball. Teams are streaky.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You play who's in front of you. There is no luck. You play who's in front of you, and so you take those wins and you run with it. But I will say it is fortunate to play them right now. So, but now we're gonna get to the who's right part of the podcast, and as you know, I picked Brandon Nimmo. Because he does like hitting in LA, but the standout, and you picked Sterling Marte. So obviously, you know, I'll concede that point to you. But and then you picked Reed Garrett as the pitching standout, and I picked Rayleigh. You know, not too bad on my part, but at the end of the day, Reed Garrett took it. So another point for you. And
I think it's all tied up
um,
now, right? That's 3-3.
not so fast, my friend. But as far as the Mets killer, we were both wrong. You picked Teoscar Hernandez. I picked Will Smith. And how can we forget the Mets killer of all time? Not the all time, but at least in the recent history. And Freeman. Freeman
Yeah,
had a heck of a series, and he doesn't miss a beat when he's playing the Mets.
no, he's one of five players that can beat up on the Mets like he does. That doesn't happen very often. I should have chosen Freeman, being an ex-Atlanta Brave. We always miss these ex-NL East guys and end up thinking that someone else is going to break out. I picked Teoscar because he led the team in RBIs going into the series, thinking that he was going to break out, but knowing that the bottom of the lineup is cold, you know I should have known not to give the Dodgers more confidence and thinking that they were going to beat up on us more. But Freeman always does, and that's someone that we can never miss. Will Smith didn't have a bad series either. Uh, Obviously, he threw out 2 runners today, looking like an elite defensive catcher, and also an elite bat as well. He's obviously one of the best catchers in the league. Some say top 2, if not top 3. And he really showed it this series. He didn't break out like a star like Freddie did, but he did look really good.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, what can you do? He is a top catcher in the league. But yeah, you took 2 points out of this one, and you get lucky every once in a while, so we'll give it to you. But on to the next series, on to San Francisco. So the 3 games, we got Win against Quintana tomorrow. On Tuesday, we got Severino versus Webb. And on Wednesday we got Manaya versus Snell. Again, I'm riding high. I think we could take another series here. But there's definitely going to be a good couple games coming up. So I'm really excited to get to see um, this team on the next couple days.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the pitching matchups because although San Francisco's pitching hasn't been spectacular, they still have those awesome arms in their bullpen or in their lineup. Sorry, in their rotation. Logan Webb and Luis Severino is going to be an awesome game. I think we can really see a pitching battle there, or a pitching duel, and it'll be really a battle of the aces if we get to see that. But one guy that I am nervous a bit to see this series, just because he hasn't gotten off to a hot start, and I just it always makes me nervous going into a series when pitchers don't get off to a hot start because I always feel like they can break it out here with the Mets. But Blake Snell, the great free agent that signed for like $5 million this offseason, gets a start against John Manaya, our hope and hopefully Shamanaya can kind of prove himself again. He had an okay game against LA, and he'll get the last start in San Francisco, and it'll be a great test for him to go up against an ex Cy Young caliber pitcher. But he's not looking like it right now. He's pitching at 12, almost at 12 ERA. Got 3 losses on the season, and he's not broken out of his shell just yet. But it also might be one of those things, like you said, that he's not started. He didn't get to pitch in the minor leagues or in spring training, rather. And so maybe he's still kind of working on his stuff, getting it back up there. And let's just hope that we can get to him because we know that what kind of pitcher Snell is. We've seen him enough where he gets sporadic, he loads the bases and gets himself out of jams. This is exactly why we didn't want him. And let's just hope that we can get him flustered, get those bases loaded, and drive in some runs. And the Mets have been really good at doing that so far this season. And so I want to keep it going this season. But those are the 2 games that I see us winning. The game tomorrow on Monday is the one that I'm a little more nervous about. Not because I think that that Wynn is going to do better than Quintana, just because he's not amazing, but he's still got some good stuff, and I feel like he's a bit of a better pitcher than Quintana. But we'll have to see. Quintana's proven that he's been able to be a bulldog and keep us in games, and let's just hope that he keeps that going.
Yeah, no, for sure. And on Friday, Snell pitched against Montgomery. So it was interesting to see that Montgomery got the better of him on Friday. But at the end of the day, Snell is a slow starter as well. Last year, even though he won a Cy Young, he started off slow and kind of ramped it up. So not having the spring training and him also being a slow starter, hopefully we're catching him at the right time as well. So let's get into it, man. Let's get into who do you think who's gonna be the? I'm gonna let you go first. Let's keep this going. Who do you think is gonna be the Mets standout for the series?
Well, I'm going to change it up. I want to start with pitching, just because I want to give you a chance to choose your batter first, since I won this last time. But I do want to start with a pitcher that you don't really trust in that much, but that will, I think, be really important for the Mets this series, just because our bullpen was exhausted these past couple of days, and he didn't get that many starts, or he didn't get that opportunity to be out there that much. And that's someone that can also close games and that can carry us on. He's not going to pitch in multiple innings, but Drew Smith is going to be in the game a lot this series, and I think that he's going to be able to get us some important outs this series, because I feel like these games, although they won't be, they might be high scoring actually, but I think that Drew Smith is going to be able to get us outs when we need to, and so he's going to be a pitching star for this series.
Okay, all right. I did not see that coming, but I'll take it. Because I still don't believe in Drew Smith. So you can have Drew Smith. As far as pitchers is concerned, one guy that I think is going to have a good series. You know what? I'm gonna ride your hot streak, and I'm gonna say, actually, no. I mean, I'm not gonna ride your hot streak. I'm not gonna pick Garrett. I'm gonna say Diaz is gonna close a couple of games this series. So yeah, I'm gonna go Diaz. That's my pitching star of the series, and then yeah, my so since you wanted me to go first, my standout bat for the series is not only our boy who's broken out, our boy Lindor.
All right. I like to hear it. We always want to support our boy Lindor. He's feeling confident at the plate, and he's looking good as well. And so can't hate that. And when Lindor's doing well, the Mets are doing well. And so uh, I appreciate the pick, but somebody that I'm going to pick is someone we've already mentioned, and that's been able to extend the lineup a little more. And he's probably going to be on, just like we talked about with Snell. He's probably going to be in a bases loaded situation with an opportunity to pick a couple of runs in, a couple of RBIs, and that's Jeff McNeill. Jeff McNeill is going to break out. He's going to continue to be the hot Jeff McNeill that we've seen in California. He loves. I think he's going to benefit a lot playing in San Francisco, just because it seems like he does well in that ballpark. But I think he's going to carry on rallies. He's going to power the Mets to a win this series.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad pickup because his kind of bat plays in San Francisco because it's such a big ballpark. So I'll give it to you. That's a decent pick. So but still not gonna beat me. You got lucky this past weekend. But who's gonna be your Mets killer for this series?
Oh man, I was hoping you'd go first on this one because there's always there's tough. It's tough looking at um, the San Francisco lineup and seeing all those ex Mets. Seeing Michael Conforto, Wilmer Flores, and you want to go with one of those guys, and I am going to go with one of those guys because he's someone that I think is going to have a bounce back season this year. Although he hasn't produced all that much, he looked all right going into the at the beginning of the season, and he's already got 15 RBIs and 4 home runs. Our boy Michael Conforto is looking like Michael Conforto of old, and I think he's going to beat up on the Mets, being the first time that he's really going to be 100% healthy, seeing the Mets again, right? Because last year he was recovering from an injury, which put him out for a while, and he was getting his feet wet, much like Harrison Bader actually. And this time, I think he's going to have a vendetta playing against us, and that usually happens with ex Mets that don't get picked up again. So I think he's going to have a great series this season. I think he's going to have a great series, but let's hope not. Let's hope that it's not enough to beat us.
Yeah, no, not a bad pick. Still not good enough. But there were a couple guys. I was looking at Soler just because he does like, when he was with the Marlins, he did like, kind of like you mentioned earlier, guys that are NL East guys that playing against us. But he's kind of off to a slow start. I was gonna pick Chapman, because you never know. He could have a good series here and there. But the guy that I'm gonna go with is Wade Jr., Lamont Wade Jr., because he's gotten off hot, and I think that he's gonna keep it going. It was between him or Lee. Again, guys, we picking these guys to do just enough for us to win these who's right, but just to be a little thorn, not to take the whole cake. So but yeah, so Wade is my pick, and so that's gonna be back on the W column for me.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see next week. We got I came back on you this week, and so we could see a sweep this upcoming week.
Oh man, I love to hear the confidence, but at the end of the day, young Padawan, we'll keep it going. But guys, let us know what you think. Tell us what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and this video. Subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you think. How you feeling about this team? How you feeling about the walks? How you feeling about going up against the Giants? But before we get out of here, Victor, any last words?
Yeah, I just wanted to. We forgot to mention the City Connect jerseys because they came out this past week. We haven't gotten a chance to comment on them, But initial thoughts, I haven't seen them in person. I think our thoughts are going to change this Friday when we get to see them being game one, being played. But my initial thoughts were they looked a lot like Yankees jerseys, man. I don't know why. Obviously, the pants are different, but they had the pinstripes and the dark black. Um, Obviously, they're going for concrete, and I love them. I think they look great. But they just initial thought they looked a little bit like Yankees jerseys to me. And obviously, a lot of people are saying they would have rather seen the Queens, but I think the NYC across the chest looks great. The hat, I'm gonna have to cop one of those hats because those looked fire. And the purple was worked in perfectly. Uh, Something that we were concerned about going in. But I love the creativity from the Mets here. I think they look great. Obviously, fans are always going to have their critiques and thinking they look better. And that was my only critique is that they looked eerily similar to some of the Mets. I mean, sorry, some of the Yankees jerseys.
Nah, I'm gonna have to push back on you on that. I actually like most of the jersey. I like the simplicity. I like that they did right. Kind of keep it classic. Not go too crazy with the uniform. My only critique, and this is something that kind of bothers me. I know they use the away font on the away jerseys, but the size of the lettering on in the front of the jersey kind of I'm not feeling that the size of it. The NYC, I'm okay with it, but just the sheer size kind of changes the way the font looks to me. But other than that, I think they did a great job. I think they kind of did something different, along with keeping it classy and keeping it nice and smooth. Mets have pinstripes as well, so I'm not too worried about the pinstripes. But I do like the classic look, and I think the gray kind of did it. They did a good job. I can't say too much. The font of letters is the only critique I have, so I can't I can't say I'm a cop a jersey, but I did already get me a shirt. So
Oh man, yeah, I gotta jump on that too. I'm gonna have to like I said, I'm gonna get myself a hat because those hats look good.
yeah, no, for sure. Get yourself a hat. I'm not a hat wearer, as you can see, but you're always wearing a hat. So you're the hat guy. I'm the t-shirt guy, as you can see. So I'm gonna be wearing one of those City Connect t-shirts that I came out. So
There we go. Yeah, but love, like I said, we're gonna love to see him on Friday. I think they're gonna look great playing against those Cardinals, and let's just hope we beat up on them because we know how much we hate the Cardinals.
yes, absolutely. No love for the Cardinals. So absolutely. So hey guys, let us know what you think about the City Connect uniforms. How you feeling about the uniforms? Until the next series, let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.